I'd like to dedicate tonight's workshop to the memory of my late Rebbe and mentor, Rabbi Abraham Twerski, who was the progenitor and proponent of self-esteem in all areas of life, in particular in raising children. And he told me personally and said many times in his shiurim, in his lectures, that when you teach a child something, you must maintain their self-esteem. You cannot destroy their self-esteem or their sense of self or their dignity while teaching them or directing them or educating them. And he tells a story of his own father, Zichrono Livracha, who was a chassid, a righteous man, a very wise man, who raised 5 sons, each of them to be very, very special. One was the dean of Hofstra Law School. One was Twerski. Others were famous people in their own right. Rav Michael Twerski, the Rav of the Shul in Milwaukee. Each of them illustrious in their own rights and contributing very, very beautifully to the community, to the Kehillah, to the world. And he was once asked how his father and mother were able to do that, to raise 5 sons who each of them in their own fields were so successful. And he said that he understood each one's strengths and never put them down, never crushed their sensitivity, never crushed their dignity, never crushed their sense of self. And he says that there was a saying his father used when he disciplined, and it's something that we can take on. And Rabbi Twerski took it on as his own mantra in his own children and his own child raising. And that is, he said, when he disciplined a child, he would say, "Passt nicht." It's not behooving of you. It's not worthy of you. You are too chashuv. You are too important to do that. You are too valuable. You're too worthy. You're too good to do that kind of behavior. And Rabbi Twerski explains that what he would do is he would differentiate, he himself explaining it in psychological terms. Rabbi Twerski explained what his father did was he was differentiating between the person and their actions. You are good, you are valuable, you are worthy, you are a good person. What you're doing right now is not acceptable. What you're doing is unworthy of the value and the level that you're at. So when you say passt nicht in Yiddish, it means it's not behooving of you. It's not becoming of you to do that kind of behavior. You're so important. You're so chashuv. You're such an important person. You're such an important child, a very good person with good values and good midos. It's beneath you to do that. So in that way, he was able to instruct the child to correct their behavior at the same time to maintain their self-esteem. And that's the theme of how Rabbi Twerski grew up and how he himself integrated that within his own philosophy of life, that you must maintain a person's dignity. And his work in addiction, where he was able to deal with people's addictions and still love them and still value them and not look down upon them, because he always would say that a person is an unpolished diamond. You take a diamond out of the mine, it's full of mud and caked on with dirt. And when you take off the dirt and you wash it off and you polish the diamond, you see inside the neshama, the soul, the goodness of the person. And all of us, he says, are unpolished diamonds. The story told by Rabbi Twerski of an afternoon when he was 12 years old on Rosh Hashanah. And Rabbi Twerski himself was a very good chess player, and his father had taught him how to play chess. So they had a guest on Rosh Hashanah. And on Rosh Hashanah afternoon, after the prayers, after the morning prayers, late in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, after the meal, the guest offered to play chess with 12-year-old Rabbi Twerski, who was then young Shia Twerski. So he played chess with him. And of course, it's not really in the spirit of Yontif to play chess on Yontif. You're supposed to spend time praying, davening, learning, singing, walking, thinking, contemplating, doing tshuva. It's not really the time to play games and play chess. So his father was upset. So this is how he disciplined Rabbi Twerski. After Yontif was over, not in the moment, not on Rosh Hashanah after, I think it was the first day of Rosh Hashanah or the second day, after Rosh Hashanah was over, he called Shia into his office, to his home office, because he was the Rav of the shul. His father was the Rav of the shul. And Rabbi Twerski was supposed to take over from his father. In fact, he was an assistant rabbi for his father's shul for some time before he went to medical school. And he called his father into his office and he sat him down, 12-year-old Rabbi Twerski, and his father was looking in a book, looking in a sefer, for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. He didn't say a thing, looking in the sefer. And he had Rabbi Twerski sitting in the chair for 30 minutes in his father's office. After 30 minutes, he looked up and he said, I heard you play chess on Rosh Hashanah. So Rab Shia said, yes. His father looked down, continued reading in his sefer in his book for another 10 minutes. And Rabbi Twerski was saying to himself, oh my gosh, I think I've done something wrong. My dad is not approving, my father not approving of me playing chess on Rosh Hashanah. And he sat there for 10 minutes, said nothing to him, nothing. And he knew at that point, by saying nothing, that it was not the right thing to do for a 12-year-old boy becoming bar mitzvah, who was going to become the rabbi of the shul, to play chess on Rosh Hashanah. And he knew that intuitively himself, by his father's quiet, silent admonition without saying a word. 30 minutes and then 10 more minutes. After saying one word, I heard you played chess on Rosh Hashanah. Yes. Went back to his sefer. After 10 minutes, now this is an elapsed time of 40 minutes in his office, he looked up at 12-year-old Rabbi Twerski, Shia Twerski, and said, did you win? Rabbi Twerski said, yes, I did. He said, good. And he dismissed him. That was the discipline of Rabbi Twerski. Do you know how we can get our kids to be great and to be people who finally achieve their potential and to be as great as they can be? By not destroying their self-esteem, by not admonishing, criticizing, and crushing their sense of dignity, by maintaining their sense of self, that they are valuable, they are good. And that's what his father taught him. His father was not educated in university or college, as was Dr. Twerski, medical school psychiatrist, or Fordham Law School, his other brother. And yet he knew intuitively what is the value of a human being.